My next level guacamole and chips recipe will have your friends begging for more.
I'm Rose Oatley. Let's get cooking.
I like to use a white onion. It lends a subtle sweetness to the dish. You can also use a red onion, which has a sharper bite to your guacamole. The onion also adds a nice crunch and a tanginess. Make sure to finely dice it.
Take 2 Roma ripe tomatoes.
Cut your tomatoes in half, then using a spoon you want to deseed them. I like to deseed mine for a chunkier guacamole versus a runny one. Cut them into strips, then dice them into small pieces. Because avocado sizes vary, I like to put my veggies separately in a bowl first. This will give me a better idea how much I need to add later. We're also going to be mincing 1 fresh garlic clove. You want to make sure that you mince it into very tiny pieces. Now roughly chop 1 small bush of cilantro, which brings a refreshing citrusy note to it, so you don't want to skip on it. For peppers, you can use jalapeno for mild, serrano for spicy, or even habaneros if you want it really spicy. I like mine very mild, so I'm only using half. I'm going to deseed it and then cut it into tiny pieces. Now, if you like it a little bit spicier, you can definitely leave the seeds in. Also, to avoid biting into a big chunk, I recommend that you dice them tiny. I'm also going to cut a few slices for garnishing later, and if you wear contact lenses, I recommend you wear gloves. Look for avocados with pebbly green or blackish skin. They will be ripe and ready to use. A ripe avocado will also yield slightly to gentle pressure without being mushy. The small stem at the top should come off with gentle pressure if the avocado is ripe. Don't buy any without a stem. Cut the avocado lengthwise all the way around the seed, then open up the 2 halves. Carefully strike the seed with your knife, then twist the knife to help remove the seed. Push downward with a paper towel to remove the seed from your knife. Using a spoon, you want to scoop it out. I'm going to be using about 4 avocados. These are pretty small. If you have large avocados, you can go with 3.
Now we're ready to get them all mashed up. You can use a potato masher, a fork. This is actually an avocado masher, so I'm going to go ahead and use this.
I'll post a link below in the description section on where you can find one, along with other tools in my kitchen. You want to mash the avocados until it has a chunky, lumpy consistency throughout, rather than being fully pureed. Now it's time to add our veggies. I always like to start with 1/4 cup of onions and see where I'm at. I feel like it needs another 1/4 cup, so I'm going to be adding another one, making it 1/2 cup of diced onions. We'll also add 1/2 cup of tomatoes, our 1 clove of minced garlic, our jalapeno, which again was 1/2 of a jalapeno, and I'm going to measure it here for you. This is going to be 1 tablespoon, or maybe just slightly, little more than just a tablespoon. Next, our cilantro. This is 1/4 cup, and I think I'm going to add just a little more to it. It's time to add some magic to our guacamole. Here I've got 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1/2 teaspoon of oregano. Let's add in a little bit of pepper, although you don't need much because you do have the jalapeno in there. Now take a lime and roll it on your countertop to release all the juices. Cut it in half, then squeeze 1/2 of a lime. I may add just a little more. Let me just mix it first. I'm going to squeeze a little more, not the whole half, maybe just a little bit. We're going to go make some homemade chips, but before we do that, to preserve it and avoid it from turning brown, I like to add the pit back in there. Then you want to take saran or cling wrap and press it down into the guacamoles to avoid any air getting in there. We're going to refrigerate it temporarily. To a small pot, I'm going to use about 1/2 a bottle of Crisco vegetable oil. Now you can use a bigger pot. I'm only going to make a few chips today, so I'm going with a small pot. While our oil is heating up to the right temp, we're going to be cutting our tortillas. I usually take about 5 at a time and then cut them in fourths. You want to cut them in half and then half again. Once your temp is at about 370, 375, then you can start adding your tortillas. Since I have a small pot, I'm going to cook them in batches. They usually take about 1 to 2 minutes. You want to cook them until you prefer crispiness. I usually flip them around and then cook them another 1 to 2 minutes. When you take them out, they do continue to cook a little longer, so make sure you don't cook them until they're too golden brown. You don't want to burn them. Set them on a plate with a paper towel so that it will absorb all the grease. Then add a little bit of salt while they're still warm.
Now that we're done with our chips, it's time to make our guacamole presentable. So I like to put mine in
A mortar, or in Spanish,
a molcajete.
Then I go in and garnish it with a little bit of onions, some tomatoes, cilantro, then our slices of jalapeno we cut up. You can also cut a wedge of lime and add it to the center. Before we go in for the taste, take a look at this deliciousness. Guacamole is such a crowd pleaser and it's so easy to make at home.
Now we have to give them a taste test.
Nice and crispy tortilla chips.
So good. This guacamole never disappoints. I hope you give it a try, and please be sure to share with your friends, and don't forget to hit the like button and leave me a comment below. Thanks for watching.
If you haven't already subscribed, please be sure to do so below or hit my little picture on the side. Also, don't forget to hit the little bell to get notified of all of my new videos, and please be sure to check out these links on the side. Share with your friends. Thanks for watching and your support.